Make a nigga work when you locked in a cell. Can't find work when you out on bail, but your homie got the work, so he passed you the scale. Got them birds like the Bible got quail. Niggas selling out cause their mama got pills. Turning the crews like Oprah and Gail. How you sell your soul just to get a little kale? They put you in a dress when you get a record deal. Wanna see a nigga getting high on pills? You can dance on the floor, you can sell that tail, but they never tell a nigga that he can go to Yale. We all pretty equal, that's white males. All lives matter, not black males. Another mother crying, another coffin got a nail. How many brothers out here got killed? How many of our sisters out here gotta heal? How many more cats gotta get peeled? We beef with each other so quick to put a steal. George Zimmerman still alive and well. I turn up when it's real in the field. This for my niggas that kneel on the field. Light-skinned nigga, you can find me in the field. House niggas looking at a nigga like chill. I go hard when it's real in the field. This for my niggas that kneel on the field. Light-skinned nigga, find me in the field. I don't give a fuck how a house nigga feel. I turn up when it's real in the field. Feel. This for my niggas that kneel on the field. Feel. Light-skinned nigga, you gon' find me in the field. Feel. House niggas looking at a nigga like chill. Chill. Yo, chill.
The industrial complex is a system situated at the intersection of government and private interests. It uses prisons as a solution to social, political, and economic problems. It includes human rights violations, the death penalty, slave labor, policing, courts, the media, political prisoners, and the elimination of dissent.
They just want us to die in silence. They just want us to die in silence. I might start me a fucking riot. Slave rebellion, no compliance. They just want us to die in silence. They murder mine like they got a license. I pray for the coronavirus to kill all of these violent tyrants. They prey on us like they're coaching lions. World War III's on the horizon. Black and Hispanic swarm alliance. From the west coast to the islands. This pressure is making diamonds. They go waking sleeping giants. I turn up when it's real in the field. This for my niggas that kneel on the field. Light-skinned nigga, you can find me in the field. House niggas looking at a nigga like chill. I go hard when it's real in the field. This for my niggas that kneel on the field. Light-skinned nigga, find me in the field. I don't give a fuck how a house nigga feel. I turn up when it's real in the field. Feel. I don't give a fuck how a house nigga feel. Feel.
Listen!
I got to go. Hey, yo, no. Hell no. I got to yo. We go to club. They off the club. Look at that. UPK got a man to kill. Man, and chill, really on the gate of water stand. We won't follow protocol. A nigga that was mercy. Smelled you like a Hershey. Brotherhood is reveling. Extended you a courtesy. Cause clearly you a Hershey. Surely that's your girl's cat. You the trap. Bros turn hoes. While your girl strap. They respect the fire. Ain't a UPK stop. If your feelings raising child, we'll be insane asylum. Waiting on the shallow. Threat to my survival in the presence of a Bible. You will never be a rival. Just a pussy with a title. Or better yet, sitting by the dock of the bay. Head ass barnacles. Jumping out the barber school for triple extensions. Calling us for breakdowns. We taxing over tensions. Didn't to be one redemption. But death was a sentence. Real niggas dead or in jail. Well, we in the trenches.
Take it easy now. Good luck to you. I tell them, see you when you get back, nigga.
I got to go. Ain't calling out. Hell no. I got to yo. We go to club. They off the club. Look at that. UPK got a man to kill. Body back session. Full of passive aggression. Devils trying to spark a beat with that electric assassin. Charles Heston. Mad we ain't stressing. Production team is busting at the scene, but I know what you mean. Trying to state your claim off the business like homeless. Be ashamed, even you could be sane. After thinking my sugar cane, we taking over the world, pinky to the brain. Game losses, money up, houses. These the type of fools you rather see cooking mouses. Ruler of the house and no crackers allowed. No steak ass Africans made in the back movement. What kind of shit is that? The octave finger licking white cheese, drinking dog. He ain't listening. I said, ish, nobody's listening. All the above, Christian. We called you bluff. They off the cuff. Y'all had enough. You became down back to cuff.
That's another night like that. Chef. What is it out? I mean, you just did a vision. It's all about the oh shit, chef. You got some information? I'm sure.
Any man give his life for Yahweh Mashiach in Christ and fall up under that UPK.
Alright, Shalom Israel. We're at ISUPK, started out at 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander General Yohana. Since 1969, we've been teaching so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans the truth according to the Bible. Right? We're not affiliated with any other Israelite or any other group for that, any type of group for that matter, on the planet Earth. Alright, we're located here, 5261 Delmar Boulevard, Suite A. Alright, that's right here on the corner of Delmar and Union. And what's this, Central West End? Yeah, in the Central West End of St. Louis, Missouri. Alright, let's see. Classes, we have classes here on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And we have our Sabbath service on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Right, the call-in number for the classes here, 712-832-8330 or 425-436-6260. The PIN for both of those numbers is 825-1636. All right. This and every Sunday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. we have Sharpen the Sword Radio. You know, the most controversial radio show to ever hit the city of St. Louis is hosted by Captain DeGaulle Gabar. Again, that is every Sunday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. The number for that is 712-832-8330, and the PIN number is 910-1409. All right. Let's see here. We got the next date. All right. We were supposed to have food drive today, but due to the weather and the conditions outside, you know, the truck drivers just wasn't delivering. All right, but the next one is scheduled for March 5th. That's March 5th, 2021, and then March 19th. Those are the next 2 dates, right? We'll be right back out there from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. or until the food is gone. Right, it'll be right here at 5261 Delmar Boulevard. Now, if you have any questions about the food drive or you need any details, go ahead and give us a call at the school. That's 314-696-8288. All right. Any more announcements? All right. Got any questions in the class? Alright, any questions online? Let's see. Alright. We're going to hop right into it. So we're finishing up on the most common verbs, right? Again, these are very important because, it's not. This class isn't just to learn a couple words, right? That's not what this is. This is a language class, right? It's to learn the language, to learn how to speak the language, to learn how to read the language, right? So we need these verbs as the basic building blocks for a lot of other words we're going to get into. Like eventually we're going to get into breaking down and then creating names and just things of that nature. So basically, even what we call ourselves, we need to know how to build up to and do those things on our own. Like, just like you know how to do it in the English language, right? You can make up, natives is famous for making up names, you know what I mean? But we understand how the language that we're speaking works. And even though it's not the same language as everyone else around us, we understand our language, right? All right, let's get back to it. All right. First the words we got. First word we have to take. Right. In Hebrew, the word take pronounced la, so la, qua, and the cha. Right. The qua and cha are connected. Alright. As the word, again, that word is la qua. Alright, next word. Wise object. Alright. And then you have feel. Alright. Feel is mala. So ma, la, and ha. Alright, la and ha are connected. Mala. Alright. Next word is rain or rule. And rule or power is lock. Ma, la, and ha. Okay. Alright. Again, if you are, at home, watching the class, you can go back and pause it. Because each lesson is going to be built. And we're going to be talking about what we already talked about. Alright, so it's very important that you take notes and pay attention so you know what so you actually, learn something, alright? Because too many times we get upset at our oppressor for the way our school systems look, and we understand, they underfund and give us the worst books in our system is actually worse now than our schools are worse now than before we integrated, right? And a part of it is our people have gotten into the habit of just blaming it on other people instead of trying to take their education in their own hands, right? It's a lot easier to put it off on somebody else sometimes. And when we have the opportunity, a lot of times we don't take it our own self. So that's a very important thing is to, when you have that opportunity to better yourself and to grow and to learn, you should always, always take it. Because the scriptures say, in all thy getting, get understanding. And it's not just talking about, the law. This is a part of your culture, right? You need understanding of who you are to be. See, Israel is the only nation of people on the planet Earth that can even follow the laws, right? So you need to know how to be Israel to even be able to follow the law, right? You can't, follow the law, still act in a way that you were shown in this society to be. You can't be that and keep God's laws. All right, let's get to the next word. Alright. Alright, next set of words we got. Alright, find. Alright, that's Mazda. Ma. Taza. Ah. Alright. The. Alright, the Taza and the Ah are connected. Ma is independent on its own. Mazda. Next word is tail. And in the Hebrew, pronounced Nagad, Na, Ga, and Da. Alright. When you connect the Ga and the Da, it sounds like God. So we have the word Nagad, the tail. Alright. Next word is touch, the guy. Alright. And usually when you connect two letters, right, the second letter, alright, loses the A that's at the end of the sound of the letter, alright? However, with the ein, or the one that makes the sound I, then the previous letters, A or I sounding vowel sound at the end of the pronunciation of the letter is dropped in substitution for the I. Like in the name of Yahweh Shai, right? It's not Yahweh Shai, it's Yahweh Shai, right? The from the Sh gets replaced with the I sound, with the sound of the I. All right, next word we have is Slovakia. Let's spell that. To flee or to run away. All right? And in Hebrew, that is the word nawas. All right? Na, wa, and sa. All right? Nawas. next word we got up. Stretch. Alright. In Hebrew that is natah. So the na, ta, and ha. And Solange was not saying this earlier, but this side over here is the modern Hebrew. It's also known as the Assyrian Hebrew. It was the characters we developed during the Assyrian captivity. Same words, just different, or same letters, just different characters for the letters. As the people do when we go into captivity, we tend to adapt our culture to fit our surroundings, so we can try to keep some of our culture and try to keep some of ours. So we just adapt what's ours to our surroundings. So that's where we ended up coming up with these letters. But these are the Paleo Hebrew letters. These are the way we wrote when we were independent and by ourselves. This is how our language is supposed to be written, right? But if you were to see modern Hebrew or anything like that, it will more likely be in this language. I mean, it's written in these characters, the same language, all right? And the more you go back and forth with seeing them, the easier it'll even be to see something written in Assyrian Hebrew and to look at it, know what it means, and then rewrite it back out in Paleo. So the more you do both, easier it is. All right. Next word we got to hit. In the Hebrew, it is nakah. Right? Na, ka, and ha. All right. All right. Next one we have is nasai, using the same principle that we used before, where you drop the a from the a sound from the first letter and just connect the I sound from the ein. You have nasai, not nasai. All right. Yeah. And that means well, yeah. There is no e sound in our language, right? So it will be pronounced nasai, right? As that's actually you got a good point. It does look like nazi, but not the e sound is not in our language, right? So that's how we would pronounce it, nasai. All right, and it means a journey. All right. Next word we have is a fall. All right. And that is Nepal, Na, Pa, and La. All right. Connecting the letters, the A sound of the last letter drops off, and it leaves us with the sound Nepal, not Nepal. All right. Yeah, for those of you at home, if you haven't had enough time to write these down, go ahead and pause, rewind, or just watch it a later time where it's more convenient for you to go ahead and write it down. But again, it is very important that you do take the time to try to write these down, to understand exactly how to write your language, how to understand your language, so that way, it becomes easier over time. The more you practice, the easier it gets. All right. Place of the words. We got starting with deliver. Alright, deliver. And that is pronounced in the Hebrew, natazal, na, tazah, and la. Tazah and la are connected. And when they're connected, it sounds like tazal. So the na is beginning, the na tazal. Alright, next lift up. Nasha. Alright. Nasha. Na, sha, and ah. Alright, sha and ah are connected. Nasha. Next word, give. Alright. Na, sa, and na. Alright. The tha and na are connected. So the word is nathan. Na, tha, na. Last, second two are connected. Nathan. Alright. Next word. Next. Now. Next verb is to go around. Alright. In Hebrew that is sabab. Sabab. Sa. Ba. Ba. Alright, you drop the sound off the second ba because it is connected to the ba in front of it. Sabab. Alright. So we got right at the top, we have sapar. Sapar is the Hebrew word for count. All right. Next word, to serve. All right. Ibad. All right. Ein, ba, and da. Ibad. Next word means to cross over. It's ibar. All right. Right after that, we have leave. Okay. That is izab. Okay. Again, as I said before, each of these, of course, we'll hear a lot in people's names because, like I said before, these are where our names come from. These are the bases of our names, right? So, that being said, right, we should also look at the biggest meaning behind that. Your name is what you're known as and who you are, right? Your name, in our language, we use the word name like it's still used today. Your name doesn't necessarily just mean your name, like what people call you, but it's also your reputation, right? So these words that you are given at birth as identifiers are building blocks for your reputation, for the person that you are, the personality that you've shown, and what you are to be built to be, right? So, like I said, these names are very important, and we need to understand that our names or who we are based on an action, right? It's not just something that's just pretty or something that's just there. It's something active, right? There's a verb is an action word, right? There's something to it. There's an action to it. All right. So that's it. Exactly. So, like, we would you didn't really, most people didn't get their names at birth, right? Unless it was like, Yahweh, his name was prophesied, like the angel said, no, this is what you'll name this child. Or, with his, Mary's cousin Elizabeth, he told them, this is what you're going to name the child. Zechariah, he told him, this is your child's name. But normally we would give our children their names at a celebration, because like, we didn't used to do baby showers for real before the baby was born. We would do it after. It'll be a celebration, a ceremony, like where they, how Paul often says that he was circumcised on the 8th day. Well, the 8th day was a celebration of that baby being, because the circumcision was a symbol of that child being now a part of the nation, right? And that's when that child would get their name, right? But during that time, you're supposed to observe your child, right? Because you have your child, so you will observe them. And, people are born with personalities. What their parents do, whether they damage them or nurture the good parts, you can start to see the character of that baby or that child come through, and you would name accordingly to where you either name off of the attributes of what you see or what you want that child to build towards. Right? So it's not necessarily just what you see, but it's also something to aspire to. That's what your name is. Well, and again, it's not really necessarily a thing to deal with law, but like the mindset of a baby shower before the baby gets here, right? It's almost bordering arrogance, because it's like you feel like you're owed that child. You've done this, you've celebrated this life that hasn't even come yet, right? We were more circumspect before. We waited, and then we decided, and then after it actually came to fruition, then we would have. It's like counting your chickens before the eggs hatch. You don't necessarily, you can't be guaranteed, right? So when we would have our celebrations, it would be after it happened. You had the baby, great. Now we're gonna do it. But in today's society, and again, like I said, it's not necessarily an issue of law or anything like that. It's more so of a mindset, right, that goes behind it. As to with naming our children, right? These names meant something. A lot of times now we just make up names because we like the way they sound, or we think they're cute, or for whatever reason, but not necessarily because of the meaning of the name. If you ask most people, they don't know what their own name means. Most people don't know what the name of what they just named their child. They don't know what that means. And before we used to be very conscientious about that, right? Like when Elizabeth and Zechariah were about to name their child, the angel told them what to name them, and when they announced it to their family, they're like, wait, nobody in your family has that name. See, that was a thing, right? That was a name of a baby was important. Like, wait, why are you giving that baby that name? This is not in your lineage. What is going on? This is outside of what we normally do and what our normal custom is. It was very structured in how we pick names, right? So, but now it's just people just make up whatever name they want to make up, right? But because we don't put as much weight on that as we used to, as we should, because again, that's a part of our culture. That's a part of things we lost, things that were taken from us, right? Our oppressor, we got that from our oppressor. They don't really name their children based on things like that. They just, because think about it, if you let them free and you let them go, they start naming their kid Apple and Starflower and stuff like that. When you realize, no, most of the names that they have are that anyway. They're just older forms of that, right? They were named after trees and bugs and just things like that's. We were named after actions, after verbs. They just were named after whatever they saw. That's a pretty flower. I'm naming my child after that flower. That's not how we used to do things, right? Well, right. Well, yeah. Actually, that's that happened in the later medieval times, because at first it was that, but what they were ended up doing were trying to do something that we had already been doing, right? Like how we track ourselves by our tribe, right? And so it's very easy to figure out who's in what tribe, right? Well, with European society, with the way they had their names, their last name was, when they started getting last names, because they didn't all have them at first in the first place, their last name was the name of their father or their mother, depending on who was the head of the family at the time, because some people were married matrilineally, where the woman was the head. It would be their name and either son or daughter. So if your father's name was William, you would be William's son or William daughter. Like, that's how they came up with the names. But you can't trace a family like that, because 4 generations away, nobody has the same name. You don't know who was related to who. It's insane. So then they started to settle on, like, okay, well, at this time, our family will settle, and William's son was the last one, so we're going to go with Williamson, and that is going to be our family name. Or if their family name wasn't as powerful, then yes, they would go by their their profession. Smith for like blacksmiths, uh, like you said, shoemaker, things like that. Tailor. Yeah. But then again, like as I said, we never had that problem, right? Because even though we didn't necessarily quote unquote have a last name, the way we stated our registry was sufficient enough to be able to handle those issues that they were having again in the 15, 1600s. You know what I mean? Like they couldn't trace a family line for anything. We could trace ours back to which son of Isaac of Jacob we came from. You know what I mean? So, oh yeah, now. All right. Let's see. Got the next set of words. First one we have go up. Go up. Hebrew, Allah. All right. I, Allah, and Ha. All right. For Allah, Salakia. Next word, to stand. Imad. Ma, Da. Ma and Da are connected. Imad. Next word, to answer. It's Aina. Right. All right. Next word, to do. Oh, you gonna do something? Aisha. Ain, Sha, and Ha. All right. Let's make sure. All right. last set of words for the day. We have the word for turn. Right, in the Hebrew, that word is panah. Alright? Pa, na, and ha. Na and ha are connected. Panah. Next word we have to visit. Alright? Visit. And that word in Hebrew is quad. Pa, qua, and da. Quad. Alright, next word we have perish. Or to die violently. Alright? Abad. A, ba, and da. Alright? Now, we see how simply changing a word, you have to make sure that you try to pronounce the words and the letters as exact as possible, because like we were having a discussion about the way you pronounce the I, right? Well, we just went over in one of the last lists, it had ibod, not abod, right? Ibod is to serve, right? Abod is to die violently. There's a huge difference, and the sound is very close. So you have to try to make sure that you are you speak as clearly as you possibly can when you're speaking the Lashawan Qadash or the Hebrew, because it's close. Yes, abad means perish. Yes. Yeah. Usually when using the scriptures, when it says that someone or something will perish, it usually in the context of dying violently, right? When things pass away, or things go to be with their fathers, that's when you see it's a softer transition into death. But usually when it says something about perish, it's usually as a result of a sin or a crime or something. Like you've done something and you must perish, which is a violent way of death, right? Now, of course, to perish in modern vernacular doesn't necessarily mean that, but what we're going over is the most common verbs that we find, especially throughout the Bible. So in its biblical context, it's generally used as a violent form of death. All right, and the next word, and our final word for the evening, is ahab. Ahab is the Hebrew word for love. All right, ah, ha, and ba. All right, and in the Hebrew, it's ahab. All right. Love. All right. And again, in the modern Hebrew, it would be in modern or Assyrian Hebrew, yes, it would be aleph, but we don't have that sound in the Paleo Hebrew or in actual Hebrew. That's more so Yiddish, where it's alaf. In Hebrew, it's alap. Right? Alap. Right. And yes, that would be the alap. All right. And with that, since we have the time, shalom, Israel.